Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to part 2 of Phyrexia, new and old. We are here with Dan, myself, and Dionysius.
Really, dude?
Definitely hate those sounds. Hey, how's it going, everyone? Last time we were talking lore, we left you guys off with... We ended with the end of Mirrodin and kind of Memnarch, and we'll probably touch on Memnarch again because Memnarch was such a big part of New Phyrexia and what happens there. But let's just get right into a quick refresher of what New Phyrexia actually is, because we talked Phyrexia and Yawgmoth so deeply last time. What are the Phyrexians kind of doing right now?
Yeah, so originally New Phyrexia was known as Argentum, and it was made by Karn, Urza's little metal baby. And it was renamed by the Mirari after they sort of took command of the plane with the help of their warden, Memnarch. The outer sphere of the plane has a circumference of 1,400 kilometers with a diameter of around 450 kilometers. Fun little fact there. Most of Mirrodin's metal-based, but a lot of it is mixed up with organic compounds. So it's a lot of like razor grass and little mirror dudes running around, stuff like that. Oceans filled with quicksilver. Just think artifact plane. That's essentially what it is. And then essentially Mirrodin has slowly but surely succumbed to the glistening oil, as we say, and I'll kind of leave that at a ... as we continue onward.
Yeah, I believe it was Memnarch who made it kind of turn into living things, right? By kidnapping it and bringing them to the plane?
Yes.
Yeah, everything was just metal and artifacts.
And he brought the organic material in and tried to sort of combine it with the artifacts.
Yeah, I like that description there. Even the most delicate flower was made of metal.
If I recall, his original plan was to turn the organic matter into a spark.
Yeah, exactly. He wanted to harvest a spark, turn it into living beings with his spark trap. So Mirrodin, as we talked a little bit about last time, has a bunch of like suns. According to the Phyrexian field report, there are now three spheres in Mirrodin: the surface, the interior, and the furnaces. So the Phyrexians are currently working on adding spheres to it, presumably to create the original Phyrexia, which had, like, remember the ocean of glistening oil on one of its levels, that kind of stuff. Yeah, so I'll let Evan start with the moons here.
Yes. The moons, also known as the suns, which we kind of know them more as. I've only really known them as the suns until we started to research into this plane.
Yeah.
But the plane's inhabitants actually called them the moons. And there are about 5 of them, one for each color of mana. Although the green sun wasn't really there until later on in Mirrodin/Phyrexia's history. The people made folklore sort of around the moons and gave them names. There are the Bringer, the Eye of Doom, Ingle, the Sky Tyrant, and Liace.
Yeah, and that was the green one that finally showed up.
Yep.
Yeah, I think they showed up in Wooburg order, is that right?
From what I'm reading, yeah. It looks like they kind of slowly and surely made their way sort of on and surrounding the plane.
Yeah, I didn't read, but it seems like the Sky Tyrant would be the Red Moon.
The Green Moon was actually made by
it's associated
Glissa.
with Bringer, the Red Dawn, Red Sun Zenith, and Beacon of Destruction.
Yeah, the green one is Glissa's Spark, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, because it's when Glissa threw her body into Mirrodin's core, and the mana from her sort of essence became the 5th son of Mirrodin.
Yeah, the Spark went to Slowbad, right? But it was just that finally made the moon. What was the name of that set?
Fifth Dawn.
Fifth Dawn, yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
And that's when the green moon finally shows up, or sun.
And then...
Yes?
After that, once Karn came back, he brought everyone back, except all but one troll, half the elves, and a third of the humans disappeared without a trace. And that was the Vanishing. And their descendants called it the Sun's Toll, which is where we get the card.
So that's probably when that captured people went back home, right?
Yeah. and that's also the reason we got the Thrun the Last Troll. What was that card? It's an enchantment. Asceticism.
Oh, asceticism, yeah.
Yeah, he was
Good
the last
card,
remaining
dude.
troll.
That's a really good card, to be honest. Oh, because they all disappeared. That's sad. I didn't know that.
Yeah, right. Also, another fun fact is trolls are very
seems very
resistant due
lonely.
to their regenerative ability to glistening oil.
Okay.
Oh.
You can
So
still
yeah,
throw it
we
into an
should
out-
probably
an
go
outreach
in. We should probably go a little bit into Geth. So I'm going to read a bit about Geth because he's very important at a certain part. So, Geth ruled the Mephedros. That's a weird word. From the throne of the Vault of Whispers, owing his powers to the control over the vampire and the Dross. This, however, would eventually lead to his downfall. One of his many subjects, a man named Yurt, ended up allying with Glissa during our trip into the Dross. She slaughtered Yurt's Reaper, a very powerful zombie, and then felt sorry when he broke down crying as a result. He agreed to help her achieve her goal so long as she would get him a new zombie to control. Geth, angered at Glissa's impertinence, ordered his pet vampire to attack while she I cannot read today. Which she defeated after grievously wounding it, with no choice. Geth told Glissa that she wanted to know which way... Oh, man, I cannot read this. It's such small writing. Geth told Glissa what she wanted to know to get her to leave more quickly. Unfortunately, the vampire's wounds were severe enough. Only an extensive feeding would save it. So basically, he was not a good person in general. Like, he wanted to kill Glissa, who was the big part. But
well, I mean, his name's Yurt. He kind of deserved what he got based on just how douchey of a person he was. But I don't really expect anyone named Yurt to be a good person. They seem
Well, yeah, he wanted to go and basically just get like a new undead toy. Yeah.
Good old Yurt. And so he was fed to a vampire, which is pretty much ensured his death.
But did he stay dead?
No, he did not. And then he rose as a vampire himself and overthrew Geth after beheading him. Geth, however, managed to preserve his head as a lich and helped Glissa acquire the Shield of Caldra from the new vampire scourge that was sweeping across the Dross from his former throne. In exchange for Geth's help, though, he kind of wanted a new body, because right now he's really just kind of a head. So Karn eventually returned back to Mirrodin, and he made Geth one of the guardians of the Mirari, and he was placed upon a Memnite, which would serve as his new appendage.
So, yeah, Undead Lich Geth kind of gets a little more heavy metal with that, though. After Glissa disappears... Yeah, after Glissa disappears following the events of the Fifth Dawn, Geth returned to the Mephedros in his new state, where he struggled to recover control over the Nim. During this time, the Phyrexian corrosion of Mirrodin began in earnest, and Geth was offered a new Phyrexian body, arachnoid, repulsive, and unnaturally strong. Absolutely yoked. Using this power, he wiped out contenders to the Vault of Whispers, claiming it as his own. Now he rests in the Ishsa, controlling the Black Lacuna, biding his time and learning about the Phyrexian invaders. He knows that soon he'll have to repay them for his powers, but for now, they and he are content to wait. So Geth he's what do they call him? It's the
chillin'.
It's the Thanes. So he's like this like half android undead lich Phyrexian thing.
Golly.
Total traitor to the plane.
That isn't totally Phyrexian.
Really just a badass, kind of.
Yeah, he's pretty crazy, though.
Yeah. I mean, glistening oil seems to kind of do that to people. It's had that same sort of effect on good old Memnarch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll let one of you guys jump into the Mirrodin besieged part.
Ooh, Mirrodin besieged.
No. not a fan here.
Oh. Wow.
So Mirrodin. So going back to Mirrodin besieged here. Karn unknowingly brought the glistening oil to Mirrodin, and that kind of, because, glistening oil is a substance that's attracted to artifacts and sort of tries to make its way through artifacts and take control of it, and Mirrodin's an all-artifact plane, so you can kind of see where this is going. Mirrodin, the virus spread pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's why it wasn't good in Kaldheim, but
yes.
Very, very different on the Metal World.
Yes. First one infected was, of course, the man in charge, Memnarch. Unbeknownst to most of the Mirrodins, though, Phyrexia was slowly and surely rebuilding itself with Memnarch's aid.
Yeah. Some metal-fused inhabitants of Mirrodin were a perfect breeding ground for the spread of the Phyrexian corruption, which made them even stronger at the same time it corroded their minds and bodies. As an example, this turned Darksteel Colossus into the Blightsteel, or the Etched Oracle into Etched Monstrosity. So Darksteel is... The Darksteel Colossus versus Blightsteel Colossus is a great example. Same casting cost, still indestructible, but then way, way more heavy metal looking, infect, terror of playgroups.
Very scary.
Yeah. So basically, over time, they just kept going and going and corroding it until eventually, because of how successful it was in the planes, they split off into their own segments, right? Their own factions.
Their own little sort of color pies, because each sort of faction was essentially home to a singular color of mana. So there was the white faction, red, blue, and green, and black, and each one had a sort of lead Phyrexian in charge, a Praetor. Y'all probably know him pretty well, but there's Elish Norn, the white one, the Grand Cenobite. She was the Praetor of Unity. She was kind of like the think Dark Age Christianity style towards completion, which was the
all must follow or die.
Yeah, essentially, you got to kind of become a Phyrexian, drink some glistening oil, or you're gonna be flayed.
Yeah, get in line. The total fascist, like. The most dictatorial one. Yeah,
pretty bad, but she thought she was pretty cool. So, we'll put it by the light there.
It also...
Then we had Jin Cataxis, which was the blue one. Yes, John?
If you look at it closely, each of these colors are just taken to their most toxic forms. Yeah. Like they were in...
Yeah, that's actually not wrong.
If you... Elish Norn white.
Yeah.
Order. And then fascism is the toxic version of order. Vorinclex, he's survival of the fittest. He's into eugenics. That's its most toxic form. Actually, the only Praetor that isn't bad, I'm going to use that term loosely, is Urbrask. He's
we'll get to that one. Yeah, we'll get to it.
Yeah.
Fine. No, but you have Jin-Gitaxias.
We'll get to it, John. We'll get to it.
Right now, we're talking about Ginny. Yeah. He's the Blue Praetor. He's kind of about experimenting, sort of, poking and prodding, seeing what's going on. He's more so towards, like, exploiting the enemies and sort of experimenting on them to find their weaknesses.
Yeah, exactly. Again, still a eugenics experiment kind of person, but more to advance his creations into what can beat the enemy versus what is perfection with the white.
And more like scientifically and formally based rather than just purely emotively based, like the, fascist ideology of Elish Norn. Then we have Shieldred, who is the Black Praetor, and he was the Whispering one, and he really, really liked oh my goodness, I've been misgendering Shieldred the whole time. She's really all about sort of just enslavement and taking control of people and just like, think slaughterhouses and just like horrible, horrible death camps and such, and that's what Shieldred was kind of in charge of. And it was kind of like like the white side of rule or die, but with a lot more die, a lot more die.
Well, yeah, like not an optional. Like Elish Norn wants to convert you, Shieldred wants to kill everyone it doesn't think is worthy of serving, and then force the other ones to serve.
Yep, and then when they can't serve anymore, kill them anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And then next up we have Urbrask, who is kind of polar opposite. He's more so about industry, which kind of goes alongside Blue in a sense, because they're both about sort of pursuing the greater good for sort of like completion and Phyrexians in general. Where Urbrask though is more so about not like the hive mind aspect of Phyrexia, which a lot of the other colors kind of go towards.
Work together, yeah.
Yeah, they kind of work in unison, whereas Urbrask and his little red factions kind of just underground, hiding, doing their own little thing, doesn't really want to interfere with other people doing their stuff, so it's just
wants to make big mega death cannons.
Yeah, just like any other casual guy.
And put legs on them.
Living the dream, dude. And then, last but not least, we have big, chunky eugenics man, Vorn Klex. He was the Green Praetor, and as John said, he was really, really fond of the survival of the fittest mentality, which is, of course, a green card. And he would just kill anyone he thought was weak, regardless of if they could be or not, utilization-wise. He just would... Those he deemed strong, he would vouch to make stronger and use like Phyrexian completion to make stronger.
Yeah, exactly. Make the Predators even more mega super Predators.
Yes.
So they all kind of also split into their own religions, which is a pretty interesting way. Basically, all of them, interestingly enough, are not... You would think at some point they would realize Yawgmoth was kind of the creator of the Phyrexians, but they don't see it that way. They all, in some form or another, have this Memnarch-esque obsession with Karn.
Karn Daddy.
Karn Daddy is right. Start right into the Machine Orthodoxy, because what a great name.
Yeah. So the Machine Orthodoxy was the White Aligned Phyrexians, and they were under Elesh Norn, as previously stated, and they worshipped something known as the Argent Etchings, which was a form of scripture, but the Orthodoxy would then divide itself into smaller sects, S-E-C-T-S, for clarification.
Mm-hmm.
And they would follow certain portions of the Argent Etchings. The three most prominent sects included the Flesh Singularity, the Porcelain Legion, please tell me that's about toilets, and the Disciples of Karn. I'm pretty sure that one is fairly self-explanatory.
I've got to jump in. The Porcelain Legion would be a great name for a plumbing company.
Right? Oh my goodness, dude. With like a little crown on top of the toilet is like their icon. We're trademark.
Yeah, trademark. We definitely have that name.
We own the Porcelain Legion now. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. Wizards don't sue.
Yeah,
so they all seek to unify the multiverse as Phyrexia in either perfect hierarchy for like a level playing field.
Yep. So it's either like a nice form of a hierarchy with like a king, queen at top, and then like pages and such that sort of follow underneath and serve them, prince, princess, that sort of yada yada, or just like the card balance where just everyone is the same and everyone is all working together towards one unified goal, and there's no one greater or no one lesser than anyone else.
Yeah. So the other factions, the Flesh Singularity, tries to achieve total unity by literally flaying the creatures that inhabit the lands and sewing them all together. They're just like, this is how we will make equality, by combining everyone. Everyone, one big family, yeah.
Yes, big boy.
Kind of what happened with Atraxa, but in a big ceremony of all of the Praetors except Urabresk being a part of it, which is why Atraxa has no red mana.
See, ironically, I'm picturing the black card Wall of Flesh.
Yeah. Then the Porcelain Legion wants to repurpose and adapt creatures by implanting white metal plates into their bodies. All white Phyrexians have this porcelain-like metal on their bodies. While the Disciples of Karn previously held Karn himself hostage in a hope of pushing him even deeper to insanity to glean leadership from the madness.
Oh, crazy fan club, dude.
Yeah. The ultimate toxic, they kidnapped him. That's represented like a bunch in Corrupted Conscience and stuff like that, the magic card.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jump into the blue.
Yes. Next up is the Progress Engine, which the name kind of tells you what it does. It's an engine of progress towards progressing towards something. Let's see.
Their perfection.
Jin-Gitaxias led these guys, and they sat in the ruined halls of Lumengrid. They kind of hold themselves higher than the other factions, kind of like, hold their nose up in the air, uppity style, because informationally based, it's kind of assuming what they're going for. And they pursue what they refer to as the Great Synthesis. They conduct experiments in various laboratories scattered across the Quicksilver Sea, which are oftentimes described as slaughterhouse-like, creating new forms of life and technology at the same time. They're by far the most organized group, and that I feel like kind of is in part due to their blue orientation, because that just kind of goes hand in hand, like blue research, yada yada, think Tolarian Academy, that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They have 10 observable ranks. I wish I could see what those ranks were.
Yeah, I don't think they have them written down there.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be listed anywhere, unfortunately. One of their great experiments, though, is the meld web, which in the original pools of insight are filled with the brains of hundreds of sentient beings, all networked together. They
That's
also
pretty heavy metal.
Yeah, right, dude? Just brain network. They also turned Azuri, who was originally a mono green card, into a Simic card. And they turned him into the Claw of Progress and made him fight Glissa, which I don't think went over too well.
Yeah, Azuri's also a great card in both iterations of the card.
Yeah, dude. Claw of Progress has some really good combos.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about the 7 Steel Thanes.
Yes.
And that was, Geth is one of them. The Black-Aligned Phyrexians are out for total and utter corruption, slaughter, and enslavement. They don't care about nothing. They are led for the moment by Sholdred. She's at the top of the food chain of the Thanes, who are all fighting a war of succession to be named the Father of Machines. So the ones beside her are Crayanox, the Deep Thane, described as masculine. He lords over the corrupting Phyrexian oil and hopes to construct a different 4th layer as a slick oil-covered vista, also known as the Many-Legged One. You have Roxith, Thane of Rot, described as masculine. He lords over the flesh used as building and sculpting material. He plans to design the 5th layer of the new Phyrexia, made entirely of flesh. They are pretty interesting, these ones. We talked about Geth in general. As his reward, he was given his lordship kind of for the betrayal. So he is who really helped them get a foothold on the surface. The story is very different without Geth, but that is why he got it. Azax, Azog, the Demon Thane, he lords over others with fear and brutality. Thrisic, the Writhing Thane, described as a snake. He fought Roxith, believes in an everlasting and ever-improving cycle of destruction and resurrection. And then Vran, Thrain of Blood, a completed vampire who leads a group of vampire assassins.
That's pretty intense. So it's kind of just like a fight to see who's the strongest, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. They're in their own little survival of the fittest thing, and all of them have their own weird goals for what they want to do with that black faction. Like I was talking about earlier, turning a new layer of it into something made entirely of flesh, which doesn't seem like they're gonna do it farming.
No, sir. I also like how they described themselves as masculine a couple times, as in because like Geth, the graphic on his card, like he's already a pretty jacked like dude, and so to have him in the same context and then describe those as masculine, like I can only imagine like how insanely jacked the top two must be, the Thanerot and the Deep Thane.
Yep.
I think
absolutely
Geth
yoked Jim Bros.
Yeah, right? High five walking into the.
What was that?
Transcends masculinity.
Oh yeah, his spider legs don't need a pump.
No, dude, you look at them, you go blind. Next up we have the Quiet Furnace, which is the Red-Aligned Phyrexians, and they were, of course, led by, oh goodness, why did I forget his name already?
Urbrask,
thank you. I've played him a trillion times. But they dwell in the Furnace layer of Mirrodin, which was kind of, sort of similar to old Phyrexia. It was kind of deeper underground. Their primary function was to tend the forges there, just because red, fire. They would build weapons and then recycle any sort of like failed, dead Phyrexians and Mirrodins into sort of either energy
new pieces,
or utilize the pieces for other, Phyrexians in progress, stuff like that. During the war times, they would emerge to the surface and expand onto like into the mountains and such. And while the majority of these Phyrexians still dwell in the depths of the world, several now populate the Oxida chain, beasts designed in the fashion of Mirran animals. Red Phyrexians do differ from all others in the way that they're very empathetic. They feel their emotions very strongly, and they hold a strong sense of individuality. This caused them to develop empathy for the Mirrodins, and although, because, they're still Phyrexians, they're still pretty brutal, pretty messy, they their empathy proved to be stronger than their brutality, and it's allowed them to sort of let the Mirrodins coexist, in a sense.
On the Furnace layer, yeah, that's the only... Mirrodin was entirely conquered, except for the survivors who retreated to the Furnace, basically.
Yeah. And in order to hide this secret, Urbrask demanded that all access to the furnace layer be denied to other factions, which essentially isolated himself from the other Praetors, but it also guaranteed that the survivors would be survivors and not just be murdered the moment that they were found out. The surface Phyrexians in the mountains kind of serve as guardians to warn if anyone's trying to get in, or to prevent people from trying to get in, stuff like that. A lot of the other factions do ignore the quiet furnace, with the exception of the Progress Engine, which is the blue faction previously spoken about, and they're pretty paranoid. They're kind of curious as to what's going on in the mountains.
They don't trust like that, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no, the Ginger Taxis kind of, I think, understands that something else is going on, and especially knowing that Urbrask is the industrious one wanting to make weapons, doesn't really want to just leave that alone and untouched.
Yeah, and that makes the most sense in terms of, like, thought process-wise for a blue creature, just because it's, like, a lot of, like, if-then scenarios are probably running through their head in terms of what is red doing in the mountain.
Yep.
Last but not least here, we have the Vicious Swarm, which these are the green-aligned Phyrexians, and these were the first to kind of attack. They dominated the Tangle section of Mirrodin pretty quickly, which was the heavily green-dominated area of Mirrodin before it was taken over by New Phyrexia. Again, survival of the fittest, so they're going to run in there pretty quickly and just start beating the life out of stuff to try and find the survivors that they could then convert and complete into Phyrexians. Like all Phyrexians, members of the Vicious Swarm believe that flesh is weak, but unlike other Phyrexians, they believe New Phyrexia should progress in a more natural way. So it should be kind of like the rules of nature, rules of like predator-prey style, rather than industrialization. This would then allow the strongest... I want to say genetically, but like they're robots sort of artifacts, so like I don't know if genetics play a part, but essentially the strongest sort of creatures would survive. They think that artificial engineering should be restricted to making predators more efficient, and that sentience and sapience are curses. So they're all about big, dumb, swing, strong.
Just, straight instinct and power.
Scream and run at something.
They are probably the most lunatic-driven ones of them, as you can see with Kaldheim Vornklex, where the travel basically ruined all of his flesh, and he was still like, what up?
Yeah, I imagine Mel Gibson from that South Park episode.
Yeah, they are... I would say Vornklex is probably the strongest. The other ones are probably smarter, a little more powerful in their control of it, but I bet in a straight-up one-on-one fight that most of them, or all of them, probably couldn't take Vornklex, who was like 7 foot something.
Yeah, and he can just, like, change his form, because there's the form of Vornklex on Phyrexia, and then we have the Kaldheim Vornklex, which is more like an animal-based stylization.
Yeah, Vornklex is something else.
Right? I wish, like, we got Vornklex. I want to know what the other Praetors are up to, and I would really like to see other cards of them. I think Shieldred died, though?
The forces are definitely gone, yeah. So they are, right now, the Phyrexians are waging a war against each other for control over the plane and what's going to go on. But they are probably, at the moment, the largest threat to the multiverse. Like, anyone who followed any of the war on Mirrodin and stuff like that, the Phyrexians annihilated it. Like, they definitely won. It wasn't a close, like a stalemate and both sides are recovering. No, they own this plane. It is New Phyrexia now.
Yeah. There is no question.
Yeah, so like Glissa is the one who currently is kind of in charge of that faction. And depending on what source is more canon, either the Field Guide or the Quest for Karn Narvel, she either really likes Karn or hates Karn. So we don't really know where it is, but Vornklex is still the Praetor and is still probably the most dangerous, even though Glissa is the actual powerful part of it. So there is currently still a Mirian resistance on the plane, and that's where I think a lot of the story is going to go to. So we have, I believe, did Ashiok go to New Phyrexia or to Old Phyrexia?
I believe she went to Old Phyrexia.
Yeah, and I know that I believe Ajani, Elspeth, and Teferi and Karn are all scouting New Phyrexia right now, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So we are obviously going to have to see, like, these are some of the big baddies that are going to be fought coming up.
Yeah.
More time for them to progress and more unity in it is going to make it a real problem, especially without our typical Gatewatch, right? You have Elspeth still like hell-bent on trying to just wipe Phyrexians off the map. Ajani is pretty on board with that, and Karn sees this as his own mistake, which, I mean, is.
I hope Karn doesn't do what Karn likes to do and just sit and brood.
Yeah, Karn's got to be a little more active with this one for sure.
What's
Karn just
kind of
wants
got
his
me
chair
a little
back.
spooked, though, is that New Phyrexia was able to make a portal to Kaldheim.
No.
Yeah.
Because it's like, New Phyrexia beforehand
Tybalt
was
did.
just kind of like, what?
Tybalt made the portal
Uh,
with the realm
Tybalt
sword.
did what?
oh, he did?
Yeah, with the realm sword, he.
Okay.
I'm like 100%
'cause
sure that Tybalt
I'm
like
reading
opened a.
New Phyrexia made the portal.
I might be wrong, but
I'm pretty sure.
I haven't read it again. I didn't read anything.
I think
on Kaldheim.
I think Elish
I've
Norn
done
was just
before.
trying to take some part of the Tyrite or whatever it was.
I think Elish Norn is trying to take credit for Tybalt opening the portal here.
Man, Elish Norn is cool.
Right?
Like, that is
yeah,
a
she
straight out terror painting.
honestly probably one of like my top 10 most attractive.
Honestly,
NPC
like
characters.
all of the Phyrexians, they're just cool.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Tybalt used the realm sword to
He's got a
Bring
body
Born.
pillow of Elish Norn.
So one
I mean-
one interesting thing before we get into the Resistance is during the final battle in which the Phyrexians officially conquered Mirrodin, a Mirian angel named Atraxa was captured. Elish Norn was impressed by Atraxa's tenacity and rewarded, in quotes, her with completion, a process by which organic beings are converted into Phyrexians. Elish Norn's intent was for Atraxa to become the Praetors' voice, a symbol of Phyrexia's unity. Elish Norn invited all of the other Praetors to contribute, and only Erebrusk declined. The creation marked the final victory of Phyrexia over Mirrodin. Yeah, so tell us a little bit about the Resistance. Who's still left?
So we have Bladehold, which is an Auriok city in the Razor Fields, defended by a force known as the Accorders, led by Rhea Ivor, the hero of Bladehold, which is a very good card.
Did they finally give a name to it? Is Rhea Ivor actually what the hero of Bladehold card's name is?
That is the hero of Bladehold's name in the lore. I don't think it's... I think she might be in the flavor text on the card, in terms of, like, the name. No, there's no flavor text. There is no flavor.
Yeah, no, so Rhea Ivor is just the hero of Bladehold. So probably I think actually that card was probably just so popular that they gave it a name because it would make a great legendary creature later on.
Right?
Yeah.
Especially with Battlecry? Oh my golly.
Battlecry was such a phenomenal mechanic.
Yeah. I wish I had played during this era, specifically for the whole, like, Mirrodin Resistance versus New Phyrexia, like, fight that was going on with draft
Yeah.
and stuff. I don't think that'll ever happen again, and I feel like that's something I missed out on.
These sets in general were pretty exciting sets to play during, and then also the entirety of War of the Spark, the Hour of Devastation, all of those sets. Hour of Devastation was really fun for like the lore base of it, right? It gave us lots of good cards, all of that Amonkhet series.
Yeah.
But I believe that all of the New Phyrexia arc and War of the Spark have just been the most like impactful in recent years, at least, in terms of like not only lore that captivates you, but also in the fact that like they were fun cards to play, phenomenal mechanics. Like you said, it was really fun to play out like Phyrexians versus like the Mirrodin Resistance kind of stuff, like the Battle Cry versus the Golem Splicers, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And it's just like, I don't think I hope we get to a plane where we can have that happen again, or potentially we have that happen again with the new Phyrexia plane if we end up going back there. But just based on the direction Magic is heading with like lore and stuff like that, I don't think we'll ever see that again.
I'm going to be honest, they better not try and wrap that up in one block. I'll lose my mind.
Right?
Yeah,
I would be so mad.
Yeah, if they try to just quickly wrap up, all right, and New Phyrexia is done, let's move it on, yada, yada, yada.
Or they do like one set and then like 6 years later another set, like I feel like they're going to do with Strixhaven and Arcavios.
Yeah, so Arcavios they will for sure go back to, but I think that they've got to try and bring some of these new planeswalkers to Mirrodin to try and deal with stuff. I think that's why we're learning so much about them.
Oh, because it's leading up to the next sort of big War of the Sparks style event.
Yeah, and it does actually make sense that they've pushed so hard Vivian and Luca, the bonders on opposite sides of the nice to animals versus animals as tools.
Yeah.
Because either side of it, no matter, like I said, Luca's not the greatest planeswalker lore-wise in the good faction segment.
Yeah.
But both of them should, in all honesty, be disgusted with what's going on in New Phyrexia. They should want to absolutely step in and stop it, right?
100%.
Having such empathy for the animals and even using the animals. Could you imagine Luca just becomes bonded with Vorinclex?
That would be horrifying. I don't want to think about that.
That'd be nuts.
I like Wolf Luca in this set.
Wolf Luca would be pretty cool. So it is cool to know that Bladehold is still a holdout. So around Bladehold lies the Razor Circle passages, which were created by Galma the Shaper in order to help the survivors access the refugee strongholds in the Furnace Lair. The passages are made up of razor grass crop circles activated only during the presence of the White Sun.
Yep.
That's
and
cool.
Then next up with that, we have Lowlight, which is an encampment formed by the surviving Linonin Abunas, led by Kemba, situated near the Cave of Light. It's surrounded by enchantments that protect it from the intense heat of the Great Furnace, because it is nearby, because the Cave of Light is near the mountains in Mirrodin. The camp is made up from scraps of skin and geometrically raised crests of the floor's metal. Squeal Stokes often raid the camp looking for things to burn.
That's pretty cool. And it is also good to know that Kemba's still around. Also another interesting legendary card, which we'll probably see more of.
What? It was a mono white card, right?
Yeah. Oh, honestly, as well, now that I'm thinking of these, with Kemba, I was also thinking of like the White Sun Zenith, like make all the cat tokens.
Oh,
but
yeah.
we are likely to see more of the Sun Zenith style cards if we do go back to New Phyrexia, and Blue Sun Zenith is like one of my most played cards. I absolutely love that card.
I have it sitting in a binder right now, and I have no idea what to put it in, because it's just
anything with blue. Love it.
I know, but it's like I have so many blue decks. Where would it fit the best in?
True. Green Sun Zenith is a great fetch card. No one really plays Red Sun Zenith.
Black Sun Zenith's pretty good. That's the one where you return the creature cards from your graveyard, right?
No, I think Black Sun Zenith is -1/-1 counters. I think it's a pretty good board wipe.
Yeah. Finale, the Liliana finale is the one that returns stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Oh, that is also interesting as well, because they are still using Liliana, right? A lot of the gatekeep is not in the story, but Liliana's obsession with bringing Gideon back, especially seeking out Belladros and the Mystical Archive, Liliana's still a character going around, and I don't think Liliana is gonna stop. And Belladros' conversation with Liliana was really focused on Liliana helping the living and actually treating them better. So this would be a good place for Liliana to maybe have a redemption arc.
Hopefully.
I would love to honestly see some, like an Orzhov Liliana, where she becomes a little with the white law and order, kind of bring things back, flicker things, kind of.
Yeah, or like she has like a Swords to Plowshare style ability as a minus or something like that for something.
Yeah, I do think that there's a redemption arc for Liliana in the cards coming, because like I said, Liliana was part of the Gatewatch, but not really like a good part. She was controlled by demons, terrified of death. Liliana's a really, really interesting character, and I do think that they are going to have to touch on it. And what a better place to lead a redemption arc than the Mirrodin era, right? Like,
yeah,
she feels very guilty that Gideon took her place dying.
And we don't really have, we have Basri Ket right now as a white planeswalker, and Ajani is still around.
Yeah.
But we haven't really gotten a new Ajani card recently, and I don't see Basri Ket having that much of an impact on the story, because it seemed like he was more localized to his set, at least from what I could see in the lore from that set. I think it was just M21 though, right?
I do see Elspeth moving more into black mana or red mana.
Forgot about Elspeth.
Yeah, because Elspeth's on a nightmare. Like, Elspeth was in hell had to escape from hell basically by like pure rage. I do think that Elspeth will be a little more evil genocidal.
She's playing Doom Eternal right now.
Yeah. There is going to be an interesting thing, but like I can't really see right now. They're kind of being a little playful with the Planeswalkers, right? Like, how are Will and Rowan gonna face up with Elish Norn? You know,
I would love to see that fight.
Yeah, like they're like playful, like here's my scholarly approach, and then Elish Norn just impales them and vivisects them, like
just flays what do you call it? You know who we should see pop in for the whole Phyrexia bit? We should see the Wanderer come back.
Yep. Well, I think, John, was it you saying before that the Wanderer is kind of supposed to be yourself?
Yeah, but she still shows up in the story. Like,
can't remember who was saying
she was
that.
tracking down Tezzeret for a time after War of the Spark. Like, they include her in the story.
Oh yeah.
But so I think she's kind of like the stand-in for you.
Yeah, which is why she just goes to whatever plane, right?
Yeah. Like, if she falls unconscious, she'll just instantly teleport.
Okay.
That's pretty cool.
A little
also,
off track,
it could suck
but
depending on where you teleport.
But Lazav and Tezzeret are working together. Fun fact. But that's
I keep forgetting that Tezzeret's around. Tezzeret's a real lunatic.
He was.
Oh, and also kind of.
No, he was seated at the right hand of Karn.
He's like Baby Bolus. Really?
I mean, Bolus was really the only thing stopping him.
He had a card in.
I do think that they are going to have to bring Nico Bolas back at some point, probably to fight Eldrazi. I still think that. I'm going to keep saying that.
They're going to bring him back as Nico.
I want to see a completed Nico Bolas.
Could you imagine?
Throw some like white or green in.
The Praetor King Nico Bolas.
Oh baby, 5-color. They did it with what's his face?
Niv Mizzet.
Yes.
I think there's a strong chance of Niv Mizzet and Omnath also becoming planeswalkers at some point.
I would love. Really? Wait, did you say Omnath is a planeswalker?
I believe so, because Omnath just keeps getting extra colors of mana, right? It would make sense that Omnath would be a being gathering enough mana to, like, that is how Planeswalker Sparks typically ignited, right? Was so much mana gathering. And that's what Omnath has done, increasing the colors. So I think that Omnath could become one, especially to go fight Eldrazi when they're back.
Oh, in order to, like, planeswalk.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. To finally unleash that mana in some kind of mega Sylex blast like we talked about last time.
Yeah. They should bring back, they should bring back the Golgothian Sylex, but the Phyrexian Sylex.
That would be pretty cool.
Just bring back Urza or something.
Yeah, like I said, the Mirrodin is just set up to have to go back to, right? The fact that they're making these different spheres, that they have so many very, like, potent legendary creatures to try deal with, right? Who have just been amassing their own armies, unifying more and more in their own ways, getting stronger. Urabresk making weapons, because although Urabresk is empathetic to the Mirians, Urabresk is still a Phyrexian, still a Praetor.
He's still doing his due diligence. What is also a little concerning is the fact that there is glistening oil on Ixalan. Just coming out of a fountain.
What?
On Ixalan?
Yeah, the Wellspring of I think it was the card Wellspring of Ecor.
Which one was Ixalan? I'm trying to...
Vampires...
Oh, it was
Vampires and Dinosaurs.
Oh, yep.
Primal Wellspring?
Yeah, the Phyrexian invasion of Ixalan. Fountain of Ecor. Wellspring?
Okay, yeah.
Fountain of Ecor. It literally has, like, glistening oil coming out of the fountain. And the flavor text says, Sun Empire priests thought they were digging a well. What they tapped was something different entirely. And it essentially turned... the card itself is an artifact that taps for mana, and then you can pay 3 to make it an artifact dinosaur creature. Which
Phyrexian dinosaurs would be tight.
Right? And that's what it kind of seems like it's heading towards, or at least they're foreshadowing. So I think before we go...
You guys remember Rotting Regisaur?
What?
Yep. That was kind of the start of it. I think that was Core Set, right?
That was Core Set 2020.
Yeah.
And that was a zombie dinosaur.
Fair enough. Still.
That is really cool. But what was it? So I think before we go back to New Phyrexia, we're gonna go to Ixalan again, and it's gonna be kind of a little completed.
Well, that would actually be a good spot to go to, right? Because Ixalan was, again, a really, really cool plane. It's pretty flesh, so it would make sense that a really slow completion would be happening. And it would be a great spot to be able to convince the new, whatever the new Gatewatch-esque organization is going to be, seeing the dangers of Phyrexia left alone, spreading to another plane could be the catalyst to trigger the war of going to New Phyrexia.
I'm also reading that the wording, the wording specifically on Fountain of Icor is important, because it's not a word often used in MTG, but 4 out of 5 times it's been in reference to Phyrexia. Because they could have called it Fountain of Oil or Fountain of Tar or something of the sort if they were referencing like compressing down oil, like dinosaur bones to make oil, as like a joke or something of the sort. But considering the fact it's used as Icor, and that's used in reference to prior Phyrexian based cards.
Yeah, like Icormir.
Yeah, kind of feels like, I think if it is like Phyrexia though, I think it's old Phyrexia before new Phyrexia. Just because
it's definitely
it doesn't seem as though. Well,
I would be surprised if Ixalan was old Phyrexia.
But could you imagine old Phyrexia versus new Phyrexia as that faction war?
Ooh, I don't think new Phyrexia could win.
That would be so cool to see. And I think
new Phyrexia is getting stronger.
I feel like it'd be a cool way to kind of counteract the horrors that are surrounding new Phyrexia right now. Is just kind of give them a taste of the old school.
I could see
to be honest, we don't know where Ashiok's going, but if Ashiok is going to old Phyrexia, finding it and bringing it back to life, that could be... The Phyrexian Civil War could be a pretty cool thing if that is what it is, where the new Phyrexians worshipping Karn are fighting the old nightmare-based Yawgmoth Phyrexians.
The old school Yawg daddy boys.
Yeah, the Yawg father.
This probably won't happen.
That'd be really... I just hope, regardless, that within the next year or so they go back.
But I could see Ixalan being, like, on the surface...
What play won't happen, sorry?
Being old Phyrexia. Like, think about it. Like, it's been thousands of years. It recovered from its destruction.
That could
and
be
it became,
cool.
like, a very large inhabited place. And the Sun Empire was drilling down.
Like, just
and they
wipe
found
it out.
The oil ocean.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
At some point, they'll have to kind of address where the Phyrexian oil came from and what it is.
Yeah.
Because obviously it keeps replenishing itself.
And they can't just, once leave that untouched, because it's such an important piece of new Phyrexian outform.
Maybe it's mass-producible. Like turn people into Phyrexian oil.
Yep.
That's maybe that's what Urbrask is doing in the mountains. Melting them down into oil.
I do think it's a really fun thing, by the way, to know that Jin-Gitaxias entirely hates Vorinclex and thinks Karn is just an incompetent ruler.
I think that's just because Jin-Gitaxias thinks he's all that, though.
Yep.
Getting some Urza vibes from Jin-Gitaxias.
He holds himself to that utmost sort of... Yeah.
Yeah, so he sees the original father of machines as ultimately imperfect. Is the original father of machines Yawgmoth? It is Yawgmoth.
Yes, sir.
So he just doesn't think Yawgmoth is good enough. He doesn't think Karn is good enough. I wonder what kind of a being he kind of wants to lead it. It is implied as well that Jin-Gitaxias has access to white and black mana.
Norn the Wary is who he wants.
The ultimate. I love Norn the Wary so much.
He's
so bad.
He's the most cautious, and that's what I feel like Jin-Gitaxias is all about, is caution and taking it one step at a time and sort of understanding the enemy before moving in. So I think Norn the Wary is exactly what he's looking for in a leader.
Shoulder is actually pretty cool too.
I can't believe I have thought Shieldred was a dude this whole time. I'm so sorry, Shieldred.
The whispering one.
Dude, the mouth on the base of the body is insane.
Yeah, and when you look at it in its big drawings of it and find out that like its spider body is also a giant Vorinclex looking head.
Horrifying.
Yeah. And that like it's kind of like shouldered is kind of like a big scorpion thing inside this big like 4 or 6-legged mandibled spider thing.
And it just really, really makes you wonder. Like, imagine you're walking through the mycosynth and you hear some scuttling above you, and you look up and you just see that.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god.
It says Shouldered can separate her body into two pieces. Her relatively humanoid torso actually locks into an access inlet built into her monstrous lower half. Though few have seen it, Shouldered appears to shed her large, predatory, more mobile body and skid around on the ground.
Slither skitter to a new home. So I wonder if she molts her, if that's like a bottom port's like a shell, and she has to molt it after a certain amount of time and like find a new host. And that really makes you wonder, where's she getting them? Where are these giant heads coming from? What do they belong to?
Probably, honestly, it looks like it just took over and put on metal plates on one of the predators that Vorinclex enhanced.
That would make sense. And that would kind of work towards, because, like, even though, especially the Black Faction is kind of just fighting within itself, that would still kind of point towards the hive mind sort of mentality that all the Phyrexians kind of have towards working towards that ultimate goal of completion, where they'll still kind of help each other out and stuff.
But going back to Jingataxis...
Yeah, it says, like, all of these Praetors are such cool... Yeah.
Dan said that Jingataxis had access to white and black mana. It makes you think because Elish Norn conquered Shieldred and Urabrask. I don't remember that, but that's what I read. So she controls Mardu portions of the plane. So really, she only has Jingataxis and Vorinclex to contend with. So it's kind of interesting that Jingataxis also has access to the mana that Elish Norn conquered.
Norn, yeah. Because they're kind of working together in a sense. It's weird that she didn't give him access to black, though.
No, so it's white and black, yeah.
Oh, sorry, I thought it was white and red.
Sorry about that.
No, so no green mana and no red mana currently.
Yep.
But it does make sense, like, that they are working together, and through the experiments that Jingataxis would learn to access these other colors.
What I think is really cool is that Elish Norn utilized the other colors to form Atraxa.
Yep. Like I said, Atraxa is so cool, especially when you know the lore of, they're like, all right, everybody put your finishing touches on this. We're playing Build-A-Bear.
Why do I
Atraxa.
Probably because Urabrask didn't want to play Build-A-Bear with a broken angel.
He just wants to build weapons with legs.
I wonder if I never even thought about it, but if they go back to New Phyrexia, there will probably be a new Atraxa.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like that.
I feel like it would be negligent for them to not. Atraxa is still one of the most favored commanders, so they've got to do something for it.
Same old Atraxa.
No, I was gonna say, I wonder if they'll make her a point blocker.
Give her Infect.
Yeah, Atraxa with Infect would be pretty cool.
And make her cost 1 extra black mana for it.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, there is going to be a lot of like new cool things, but I just, knowing that Glissa, Azuri, all of those things are still kicking around. I'm pretty sure Azuri and Glissa are both still kicking around because there's, with their new color pairing. So we'll probably see another kind of Azuri. I didn't know that Thrun was the last troll because of that great vanishing. So I would love to see what Thrun has been doing.
What I want to know is, what's Jessica do? Oh wait, when did Jessica go to?
Jessica's dead. Jessica's mad dead.
Yeah, Jessica's long since been dead, but I'm noting that she's been a visitor to the plane.
Yeah, the plane was originally made for her to practice on, I think, for her to blow golems up.
Karn made Karn made the golems for her to blow up. But no, she's long since dead.
Yeah, so like it was like basically a big training ground for Jessica.
Yeah.
Jessica is dead?
Yeah. She died during the mending.
I mean, it would make sense.
A lot of planeswalkers died to seal the time rifts.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's when the planeswalkers just are not gods anymore, right? That's why Karn can't
they got a huge
new Phyrexia. Well, it also seems as well that they're trying to move planeswalkers' power down. You see that with the new Will and Rowan and stuff. I think they realized that they made kind of a mistake with things like Oko, for instance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little Broco. And I mean, Liliana of the Veil and the original Karn Planeswalker card are just absolute staples in modern decks and stuff like that. And just watching how single cards can warp the format, even Ugin, just watching how they can warp like the meta and the format overall, it probably just made them think, okay, we done goofed.
I think it's kind of a bummer that Venser's not around and kicking, because I liked Venser a lot.
Me too, man.
Venser was very fun, but then we wouldn't have Karn running around and kicking. So, I mean, you got to kind of pick one or the other in that case.
I kind of wish we had Venser.
Yeah, to be honest, Venser's dope.
Yeah, Karn's nice, but like he's angsty.
I was gonna say we'll end up wrapping there. We wanted to talk mostly about those Praetors because I think that they're going to be extremely relevant in new sets. I think they're the next big baddie that people have to fight. Right? We've only seen small minor villains on planes, but seeing Vorinclex on Kaldheim definitely shows that there's an actual issue. Right? The only other thing I think that we're gonna see is maybe the reintroduction of Emrakul when they're back in Innistrad. I think that's possibly why they did the plane, because those are the big threats. And then obviously we talked about the ones that there's different things. Urza, when he traveled to the one plane, and they said there's worse things out there.
Oh yeah,
they've got to do that.
Yeah. Where they they only let him in, and since then he couldn't find the plane.
Yeah. I don't think that the slivers are currently a threat. I think a lot of them are dead from coming back to the Urborg. But we do keep seeing them pop up and things, so yes. And we see them not need the hive mind anymore.
Long live.
And I think that unleashed slivers could also be a problematic thing, especially if one of them ever learns to planeswalk.
Yeah.
Or if Vorinclex finds them.
I don't see a planeswalking sliver happening, but I could see, because like if you look at Siphon Sliver, it's kind of if you look at Siphon Sliver, it's kind of humanoid. So I could see like a human sliver kind of hybrid, or like a planeswalker sliver hybrid, where it's like not just pure sliver, but like a mixture of the two.
To be honest, yeah, Vorinclex finding the slivers would be a nightmare process of him just making them stronger and stronger and better and better.
Oh, no. It'd be like Sliver Legion on steroids.
Vorinclex gains the Sliver Legion type.
Oh, my goodness. And they all gain
Sliver Praetor. To be honest, I want to see them try complete one of the Eldrazi. Completed Eldrazi would be just awesome.
What would be really neat to see is if they completed, because again, the Eldrazi, especially like the big three, are just extensions of the main like bodies. So it'd be neat to see what happens if you try to complete like the extension, and if that would carry on through like the Blind Eternities as onto the original bodies of the Eldrazi,
or if it would just poke the bear.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, because we still, like I said, we don't know if those are the only Titans, right? And that would be cool.
To kill Emrakul?
Mirrodin is on what plane? Dominaria?
Dominaria.
I think. Yeah.
That makes sense. Frozen in the ice and Dominaria, right, the great hidden horror. I think that Mirrodin is possibly another one of the Eldrazi.
Or a predator of such Eldrazi. Seeing as she does have a color identity.
Yeah.
Which
one? Mirrodin does?
But, yeah, she's black.
I think she's black.
Oh yeah, it is a black token. Black. You're not wrong.
And it's a horror.
But yeah, like I said, we'll be able to ramble a little bit about this, basically infinitely. Like I said, we wanted to talk about the Praetors. I think that they're going to be one of the big baddies, and I wanted to touch on them a little more because we're going to bring them up from time to time, because a lot of lore crosses over with these Phyrexians, right? Like we're gonna, at a certain point, be talking. Dakon Blackblade was just revealed to be in Modern Horizons, right? So we'll be talking some of that kind of stuff. Like some of the older lore creatures really do interact with this story in different ways, right? But some of the new legends that are going to be coming up, if we ever go back, like I said, this Rhea Ivor, I believe, was the name of the hero of Bladehold, and Hero of Oxid Ridge also likely has its own name. They probably are going to bring, like I said, I want to know what's going on with Thrun, and knowing what the Praetors are doing, especially with them showing up in the story, is going to be important, because I was kind of shocked that Jinja Taxis wasn't in Strixhaven, like trying to learn stuff.
I want more Yurt.
Yeah, he was actually a leak.
It's true.
It was a false leak, it turned out.
Give the people more Yurt.
All right, I'm wrapping you guys.
Okay.
Thank you so much for listening. you can find all of our stuff on intothe99.com. There's multiple other shows there. You can see them. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening. Feel free to check out our Patreon, any of the streams we do, the other shows on the network, which is Parallel Thoughts with Zach and Benson, and Brewing It Live with Lotus. The stream is moving to Saturdays. Show up and actually make a deck with it. It's very, very fun. Great hosts, great times. Thank you very much for listening to the lore. Obviously, we'd love to talk about it, and hearing me learn to read is fun. So, thank you guys so much, and yeah, have a great night.